Hello friends, neighbors, John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome now to the Nook. Welcome to Saturday. Today I want to talk again about Kilkerran. I know last week I talked about the heavily peated one. Here is another gift from James, but this time I want to talk about their 16-year release. So I'm going to compare it to the 12. Just because I think it's nice to compare, and if you haven't had the 16 but you hear my thoughts on the same day between the 12 and the 16, I think it can give you kind of an idea of maybe what to get, because it's always just personal taste. But if you have any Kilkerran, 16, 12, something else, why don't you pour a dram of that, and when you come back, we'll sip some whiskey together and share some thoughts on Kilkerran whiskey. 3, 4. Well, welcome back. As I said, let's talk some Kilkerran Scotch. So I'm going to start with this 16-year-old and then I'll compare to the 12. Usually I don't. Usually I start kind of, if I've got a 10 and then I go 12, 14, and 18, kind of that way in a tasting group. But the focus I want to be is the 16, so I'm going to start there. It's important to know, and all of the bottles of Kilkerran are laser etched on the back, just exactly what year you're talking about. Well, we all love Glengyle and the Kilkerran releases because they're natural color, non-chill filtered. I wish they would talk about exactly the portion of casking, even on the label for each one, because I was not familiar. This is my only 16-year-old, and it was a gift from James. Thank you, sir. And I just assumed a lot of things, and it's unfortunate now that I've done a little, just searching around and going to Whiskey Base. Like, this one is 2022, so it's 70% bourbon cask, 30% ex-sherry, which happens to be the same as this Kilkerran 12-year-old. So it's a very interesting comparison. This is also 70-30. But I saw that Kilkerran 16, even on Super Social Club, that year was a Madeira release. Then I saw on Whiskey Base, there was some that was actually a lot of sherry and some rum cask. And I wish that truly was on the label. It would just make me give them an extra whiskey hug. But enough about that. This Kilkerran 16 is 7% ex-bourbon, 30% ex-sherry, 46%, and the youngest liquid in here is 16 years old. Let's give it a nose. Sweet, light, citrus. Yeah, slightly earthy in the nose as well. But for me, lots of fresh fruits. Fruits like cut pear, not as sweet as peach, but some of those lighter, very aromatic, fresh fruits with some lemon and a little bit of earthiness going on. Smells really good. Let's dive in. Hope you have something good in your glass. Sluncha. Some of those flavors, continue right away, but then you add that maltiness. So, if you're getting that lemon, that hay, a little bit of grass, you wrap it up in a custard shell. So you get a lemon custard. You get some not breadiness, but you get a little bit of that sugar malt wrapping around in there. A little bit of spicing, some, not lots. And everyone calls it, a Springbank funk, and I get that. For me, it just is a light peating, but it's a smolder, it's an earth. It's not medicinal in any way. It's not totally on fire. It's just that earthy, grounded, not quite mossy, but maybe wrapping around there. I better take another sip. Certainly the second sip often really lets secondary flavors come out. Sancha. The second one brought out a little more oaks and actually a fair amount more spicing for me. A little bit of peppering when I say spicing. So the nose was very fruity for me, very almost fruit floral, lots of expressive cut fresh fruit. The palate is not as fruity. It's much more malty for me. Not quite chewy, but it coats well. more oak on the second sip, some spicing, a little smolder, a little more peat on the second sip. There's not a lot of peat in here. When I talk peat with Kilkerran, sometimes it's more like dirty and fuel and kind of a little bit like Kregaliki, a favorite affordable one of mine, but a little more cool funkiness going on. Nice grain quality, not in a bad way, but just a nice core grain. This is a really nice Scotch. The sherry for me, 30% surprising. For me, it drinks a lot more like a light peat, but like a 90% ex-bourbon, like a lot more. There's vanillas in there. There are slight toffees as well. I didn't really mention that, so some slight toffee, definitely vanilla. But for me, that lemon custard is just present and lovely and very nice. This is a great dram. If you can get it, I suggest you do. It is a little dirty. Like if you don't like any peat at all, you really want just the cleanest Speyside you can find, then I think you might find that dirtiness, that light peat, a little bit like, well, what's this going on? I think it's what's this extra layer of flavor, but that's my personal opinion. This 16, fantastic. I have now had a number of times I've come to it. This sits a solid 4 stars easily. I think for some it's going to rate higher, but for me it's just an excellent Scotch. Okay, I wanted to shoot this 16 against something that's a little bit more common for me, more often on the shelf, something I've had more of. So I've certainly developed maybe a little bit more understanding of this Kilkerran 12. Also, but these particular years have the same casking. At least that's what my small research found out. So this Kilkerran 12 also is 70% ex-bourbon and 30% ex-sherry. And what I like about that is really, if that's true, and it really should be using the laser etching, then this is like, well, what does 4 years give you? So coming here to the 12-year-old, it's 46% natural color, non-chill filter, as all Kilkerran Scotch is. Let's go in on the nose. Okay, that is sweeter, a little more like almost honey, sweet, light strawberry. But that has a really nice nose, it's richer. This is richer. There's more layers coming off the 16 than the 12, but this is sweet. I'm getting a little more sherry, I have to say. I use strawberry, but there's a little more red berries going on in here, and not nearly as much earth or funk already on the nose. Let's go inside. Slaja. Oh, that is on the palate. That's where a lot of funk comes out. This is very, actually, it's funny how here I was giving that earthiness into the nose, but here I'm going to say the palate is very much earth and slight, not medicinal, but in a good way. Malt sugars, a little bit nutty. I'm going to go a little bit of crushed almond in there, just a little bit. There is some of the same characteristic lemon. It's less fresh in here. This feels more earthy. It really, really does. I better try another sip. Sláinte. And with its 16-year-old cousin, the second sip brings more oaking, a little bit of char, a little bit of some of those secondary oak notes that is often the case the way my palate is put together. A little more spicing, a little more peppering. Interesting. So I want to change my rating on this because I actually want to move this one up into 4.25 for sure, because this is a 4-star. I've had this lots. I really, really like this. I've even given this, I think, 4.25 in the past. So this is a great Scotch. It still has a lot of that, not a lot. It has just enough of that light fuel, earthy, smoldery peat spiciness to it that people looking for a very fruit forward, clean, only ex-bourbon might struggle with this, but I think this is fantastic. This is a fantastic 12-year-old. You should definitely have some in your journey. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Now that I've shot these together, and it's interesting because we did this as friends. Andrew dropped in, we did this, and in that one, I preferred the palate of the 12 and the nose of the 16. Today, I'm preferring the 16 all the way through. I Actually, like 4.25 for sure. This might even be more. Right now, the richness of the 16 really comes through. It's only 4 more years. This is punchier. Absolutely. There's more high sugars and darker oaks. Like it really is definitely more punchy, but this feels just well put together now that I've shot them in comparison and shared with you. But what are your thoughts? Have you had the 16? Have you had the 12? Have you had different 16s like the one with Madeira or rum? Are those better, different? Why don't you throw down some comments, because really I love sharing with you my thoughts, maybe help you with some buying decisions or whatnot. And then I love it when you share your thoughts about what's up here. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll get on here for Sunday, do a little samples. You have a great weekend.